I mean, is he after women? Because that seems to be his pattern right now.
So MeidasTouch just dropped exclusive Capitol Hill interviews exposing Trump's systematic pattern of firing only women while protecting corrupt male appointees. AOC just revealed the smoking gun, connecting these firings to Epstein files cover-up. This is Democrats finally fighting fire with fire.
Donald Trump's worst nightmare has arrived as Democrats are finally going scorched earth and torching him on Capitol Hill.
This scorched earth approach comes as Trump's Iran war spirals and his corruption scandals explode. Democrats watched Republicans obstruct for decades. Now they're matching that intensity and taking the gloves off completely.
I mean, Trump only seems to have the capability to fire female secretaries.
She's absolutely right. Trump fired Rachel Boehm from state, multiple women from DHS leadership while keeping Hegseth despite his alcoholism scandals, and Patel despite his revenge list threats. The pattern is undeniable and systematic.
Given all the clownish behavior we've seen out of like Pete Hegseth, Cash Patel, and all the rest, what's a man got to do to get fired in the Trump administration?
Perfect example. Hegseth just fired Navy Secretary Phelan this week for questioning his competence, while Patel openly threatens to weaponize the FBI against Trump's enemies. Male incompetence gets rewarded, female competence gets punished.
Honestly, I think what Cash Patel's done is 1,000 times worse than a lot of other people. But they've got it scot-free. I mean,
exactly right. Patel literally published a book listing his enemies for prosecution, yet he's untouchable. Meanwhile, women asking basic oversight questions get shown the door immediately. The double standard couldn't be clearer.
It seems that they reward misconduct.
This reveals Trump's core character. He rewards loyalty over competence, misconduct over merit. It's creating a toxic culture where corruption thrives and qualified people flee. That's how democracies collapse from within.
Unless it has to do with the Epstein files, then you'll get the chop.
That's the bombshell. She just directly connected the firings to Epstein files cover-up. AOC isn't just observing a pattern. She's accusing Trump of firing people who might expose his Epstein connections. That's explosive.
Well, all of them deserve to be fired.
McBride's setting up the broader constitutional crisis here. Trump's entire cabinet is compromised, from Hegseth's alcoholism to Patel's revenge plots to Gabbard's Russian connections. The whole administration needs cleaning house.
But we know this president, he only fires women, so my guess is Tulsi Gabbard.
Now we have two Democratic lawmakers independently identifying the same pattern. When multiple members of Congress notice you only fire women, that's not coincidence. That's documented discrimination at the highest levels.
The Trump administration is a cesspool of political and financial corruption.
Raskin knows this firsthand as Judiciary ranking member. He's seen the classified briefings, the financial disclosures, the ethics violations. When he calls it a cesspool, he's speaking from direct oversight experience.
They have no program for America. They have a program for themselves. They all want to get rich quick.
While Americans struggle with inflation from Trump's trade wars and watch their kids potentially drafted for Iran, his inner circle focuses on personal enrichment schemes. It's exactly what Raskin means by no program for America.
Donald Trump has made $1.5 billion in his first year in office.
That figure is staggering. $1.5 billion in personal wealth while Americans face economic hardship from his policies. Trump's literally profiting off the presidency while his decisions impoverish working families. It's unconscionable.
People are purchasing presidential pardons. The government is up for sale. It's like an auction.
This isn't metaphorical. People literally pay cash for presidential pardons now. Justice isn't blind, it's for sale to the highest bidder. That's not democracy, that's oligarchy with a presidential seal.
Whoever's the highest bidder wins on public policy. It's a scandalous situation that's a complete defeat of the constitutional design by the framers.
Raskin's a constitutional law professor. When he says this defeats the framers' design, he means Trump's literally breaking the foundational principles that separate America from autocratic regimes. This is institutional collapse.
Now we're learning one of the top counterterrorism officials was a 29-year-old lady who was involved in the sugar daddy community and was apparently asking her sugar daddy for $40,000 while serving in this critical role.
A 29-year-old sugar baby running counterterrorism during wartime. This isn't just scandal, it's national security catastrophe. Financial compromise creates espionage vulnerabilities, especially when we're fighting Iran and facing Chinese threats.
I think it's obviously outrageous, and I'm not sure what the qualifications of this individual were in order to be in the counterterrorism, a critically important position when we're at war with Iran.
Exactly. We're literally at war with Iran right now, and Trump puts financially compromised 29-year-olds in critical security positions. This isn't bureaucratic inefficiency. It's actively dangerous to national security.
And whoever sugar daddy is, whether it's the Chinese or Russians or anybody else, we need to find out, get to the bottom of it, because it's actually a counterintelligence issue.
The counterintelligence angle is crucial. Financial leverage over officials creates perfect recruitment opportunities for hostile nations. China, Russia, Iran, they all exploit personal financial vulnerabilities to turn American officials into assets.
I guess she got into a picture with Donald Trump, and that's all it takes. That's the only qualification necessary.
That's the Trump standard. Personal loyalty trumps everything. Experience, qualifications, security clearances, even basic background checks. If you take a photo with Trump and pledge allegiance, you're qualified for anything.
Of course, we want to, the Democratic caucus has been very clear about funding everything outside of everything outside of ICE.
Smart strategy. Fund border security and counterterrorism while defunding deportation operations. Democrats support protecting America from actual threats, not Trump's culture war against immigrant communities seeking asylum.
However, when it comes to ICE, it is just simply not acceptable for this administration to completely disregard not even any partisan demands, but Congress itself.
This is constitutional crisis territory. When the executive branch simply ignores congressional oversight, that's not partisan politics. That's authoritarian power grab that undermines separation of powers fundamental to our system.
Stephen Miller isn't showing up, and many others aren't showing up.
Miller's absence is particularly telling. He's the architect of family separation policies and mass deportation plans. His refusal to testify shows this administration believes it's above accountability to the American people.
They want every ICE officer to have meta glasses so that they can scan protests and put American citizens in a surveillance database, and that's simply not acceptable.
Facial recognition surveillance of protesters is straight authoritarian playbook. First Amendment guarantees right to protest. Using meta glasses to build databases on American citizens exercising constitutional rights is dystopian.
This idea that every day that someone goes without pay, Stephen Miller still refuses to show up to Congress, Tom Homan still refuses to testify, they should feel quite a bit of guilt about that, and they should feel quite a bit of guilt about not pursuing this process in good faith.
The human cost is real. Federal workers going without paychecks while Miller and Homan refuse basic accountability. Their obstruction has direct consequences for working families who serve this country.
I keep telling people DHS is the most corrupt agency, and there's a lot of corrupt agencies in this moment under Donald Trump.
She's absolutely right. This isn't isolated corruption, it's systematic rot. When DHS is the most corrupt among many corrupt agencies, that tells you Trump's created a culture where stealing taxpayer money is normalized.
You should get fired immediately, and we should look into every single employee that is benefiting and profiting off of your taxpayer dollars while terrorizing our communities in the streets.
The call for comprehensive investigation is crucial. This isn't about one corrupt official. It's about rooting out everyone profiting off taxpayer dollars while terrorizing immigrant communities with militarized enforcement.
Something needs to be looked into. I would say that again is that's why this place isn't a swamp, it's a sewer.
When even Trump ally Tim Burchett calls it a sewer, that shows how extreme the corruption has become. This goes beyond partisan politics. It's moral revulsion that crosses party lines.
This is going to be one of those days. One of those days in which we hear a lot about Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and the political crisis the Epstein files are causing for the Trump administration.
This connects directly back to AOC's bombshell comment about Epstein files and firings. The cover-up is becoming the bigger scandal. What's Trump so desperate to hide that he'll fire anyone who might expose it?
The latest reports that Ghislaine Maxwell is trying to angle for a pardon, or perhaps getting closer to securing a pardon, and again trying to get a court to vacate her conviction and sentence for sex trafficking, have raised the hackles again and raised the profile of this Epstein files crisis for the Trump administration.
Pardoning a convicted child sex trafficker would be morally unconscionable. Maxwell was found guilty of trafficking minors for sexual abuse. Giving her clemency sends the message that child exploitation is acceptable if you know Trump.
I heard that Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney is now saying that she's going to be pardoned. Are you kidding me?
Even experienced politicians are shocked by this possibility. The idea of pardoning someone who trafficked children for sexual abuse is so morally reprehensible that it transcends normal political calculation.
I've already introduced a resolution saying that she should never be given any form of clemency or leniency, given that she perpetrated this ghastly sex trafficking ring with thousands of girls.
The scale is staggering. Thousands of girls victimized in this trafficking operation. Raskin's resolution protecting these victims from seeing their trafficker walk free is exactly the moral leadership we need.
They still have not produced all the Epstein files. 3.5 million pages are missing from the production. And they're now talking about pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell.
3.5 million missing pages is massive cover-up. The fact they're hiding evidence while considering pardoning Maxwell shows coordinated effort to protect whoever's implicated in those files, likely including Trump himself.
Try to find a Democrat to vote for that thing. Yeah. It's like playing the Powerball. You could win, but you're not going to.
Perfect analogy. Supporting Maxwell clemency is political suicide. No sane politician would touch this, which shows how desperate Trump's allies have become to protect him from whatever those files contain.
This thing is politically cancerous to all who touch it. I can't imagine they're going to find a critical mass to support that toxic idea.
The political toxicity is unprecedented. Anyone supporting clemency for a child trafficker would face immediate career destruction. The desperation to protect Trump must be extreme to even consider such political poison.
I mean, I think Virginia has sent a message that we want a Congress that's going to stand up to Donald Trump and do its job.
Virginia's redistricting victory sends clear message. Voters want representatives who'll fight Trump's authoritarianism. Fair maps mean competitive elections, which means politicians accountable to constituents, not party bosses.
I said on the campaign trail, and I think the voters responded, you can't fight for the future of our country if you've got one hand tied behind your back and the other side's got two fists and brass knuckles.
Exactly right. Democrats finally learned you can't fight authoritarianism with normal politics. When Republicans use brass knuckles and Democrats use parliamentary procedure, democracy loses. Time to match their intensity.
You're saying being invited as opposed to coming. I don't know of the invitation, but if he were invited, I don't know. Would you like hey, I'm of the opinion that you talk to everybody. I'm not one of these guys who say, oh, let's not talk to him. You know, there's a war going on. Let's not talk to him. I like talking to everybody.
Inviting Russia while we're supporting Ukraine against Russian invasion is morally bankrupt. Other NATO allies will boycott rather than legitimize Putin's war crimes. This destroys American credibility and isolates us globally.
I believe it was a rigged election. Virginia's known for it. It was a rigged election. They had a lot of ballots, mail-in ballots. Anytime you have mail-in ballots, you have cheating.
Classic Trump. Cry fraud when you lose. Virginia voters chose fair redistricting over Republican gerrymandering, and Trump can't accept that democracy works when maps are drawn fairly instead of rigged for partisan advantage.